kind of feel like I'm connecting the dots from like tons of fire sessions I gave to others. Like you probably have heard about this race of Prillians. I mentioned them in some of my videos.
Prillians?
Prillians. It's
Prillians.
basically kind of like a humanoid bird-like beings. So like usually their main goal is moving planets and like civilizations, like sort of like no matter how big it is, they can make it into as small as an atom, move it into any dimension, and open it up again. It's like it's the multiverse appears right there. So like they have this ability. And with you, I was tracking you down, and I'm seeing everything before things got corrupted. And that's basically Prillians. You're one of them, and things are actually good. The whole race has an idea of saving anyone that's in trouble. Let's say if there's a war going on, they will go basically back in time before a war starts, and they will capture civilization that's going to be about to destroy it, and they're going to move to the other place and make sure they can live on. And if the enemy comes, like, oh, where's the target? Like the whole civilization, planet, realm just disappears completely. So the Prillians would basically be focusing on saving anyone. Even if it's just massive multiverse, they would be able to capture it and place it somewhere else. So it's kind of like dislocating things, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing like you had this idea of seeing like how like the wars are breaking through and like a lot of beings are fighting throughout the different dimensions, and that becoming more of a thing. You needed like more soldiers to work and just do better. So it's kind of like creating this massive facility of tons of both organic bodies and synthetic bodies of Prillians, and just basically growing them in pods and also like reproducing. But the idea is to have as many Prillians as possible so that they would keep on going with this goal. And at the same time, it's kind of like creating this program, like their own AI, that would be able to control tons of bodies with the same idea of helping as many as possible. With that in mind, there is a being coming from the third dimension. I guess like the best description would be Icarus from the Greek mythology, the person who has wings and goes too close to the sun that burns, kind of like that, but in a way where it's looking like kind of like humanoid, has wings, and at the same time looking kind of demonish with the face is like all weird. But it's basically consciousness within the body that wants to play and lead the baddie and just fight others. And he sees that like he cannot play his game because the world that he wants to destroy is being moved away, and he just is not satisfied. So he gets to the point where he locates the Prillian base and their AI, and it's kind of like implanting a virus within the AI, programming it, changing the system, and the whole Prillian base with billions of beings to be born and have the mindset of saving everyone turns into destroying everyone. Which is why, like, when I'm seeing Prillians, usually I'm seeing them doing bad stuff, and like I'm like why? So with you, I track it down to the point of like how they got corrupted, and why they are actually moving planets and destroying so much, or like actually messing with people and undoing things rather than helping. And so with you, I locate like that place where everything starts, and basically, I hope I'm still making sense. But as like the whole civilization realizes what happens, the idea again is to prevent everything. And like it's like right now, like kind of like time wars, going back in time, preventing it from happening again and again and again, and still unsuccessfully. And you being one of the Prillians, like one from their race, it's like the best place to sort of hide and work is to be close to the enemy. It's like the enemy will be blind and not see you when you're close. So literally from the tens of dimensions that you're jumping through, you come here to the physical reality, to the 3D here. And they don't know about you because they're looking for you out there and not here. With you coming here on Earth, was like after helping a lot of beings here, you end up on Earth with ideas again to spread your, like, hey, I'm gonna give the knowledge to people. They're gonna awaken like about what's going on, and idea of like I'm gonna reproduce, have a baby, and the same conscious beings that we were working in is gonna come here.
Right.
That again is a massive threat, and by no means they can allow it to you. So that again, like I'm looking like like it's kind of like they get suspicious of you, or sort of like they kind of find out. Basically, after you end up here on Earth, and they find that like one of the super powerful beings that is able to change the timelines and actually prevent the war and destroy their race, or let's say prevent the game from happening in a bad way, is here on Earth. They want to make sure you cannot bring anyone here. Where you contact beings, like your abilities to contact beings, or like your clairvoyance or visuals is disabled to like, let's say, minimum. And at the same time, if you were to reproduce, big no for them. They cannot allow you to do that. And so of that we're tying in with what has happened to you, with the like, like this, like the procedure you've gone through, and at the same time I'm seeing, let's say, the AI that's targeting you, created by same Prillians that and everything got corrupted, but at the same time here on the 3D, we have a lot of like intergalactic trading and other things happening, and like the whole black market, but on the multidimensional level, where we're selling off humans' blood and other things. And at the same time, there's like involvement with the secret space program and certain groups keeping an eye on you, making sure nowhere close you can have like any like options to reproduce or have anyone close to you here. So it's kind of like you're like, this is the same group that sort of hired people or control them to come into your life and actually do the procedure, making sure like, like constantly watching you, so to speak. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing so far. I guess like which can translate better and all this stuff. But, yeah.
Well, I just wanted to interject. It's incredible what you said about how these guys, the Prillians, reduce everything into the micro, because I remember having an ability when I was a really small child, and I didn't know what it was, but I would get really small when I would lay down to go to bed. It was just something so bizarre, and I didn't understand it, but it was like my whole universe reduced into just like a head of a pin. Yeah. And it was like, wow, what? And then I lost the ability, but I remember this, happening, quite often when I was a little kid. Wow. Amazing that you said that.
Yeah. Okay. Let me kind of go over the story. You feeling this? Okay. So the Prillians, there to help everyone, the good guys, or help humanity or beings be alive and survive and prosper. They got a lot of their own AI that they put in place to help, because they need to get more people or more soldiers on the ground, so to speak, and we're talking the millions and billions throughout the multiverse, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and also clones, but in a good way. Okay, so to just get as much bodies on the ground to get the consciousness or the sentience of the Prillian consciousness on the ground, soldiers. Okay, and to help manage things, they have their own AI to help things. Okay, this basically gets hacked by the bad guys. This Icarus looking. Is he
Yeah.
Okay, so he's basically hacked that, but it's not just in the now or anything. It's like through time. There's time travel stuff. So he goes back and he hacks the Prillian thing, and now they end up doing all this bad stuff, so to speak. And then what happened? Well, that's the story so far. Then, so it's back and forth now about the timeline and time wars back and forth.
Yeah, basically with their AI corrupted and the body is sort of taken over, it's kind of like putting the consciousness within the vessel and having it do good things, but all of a sudden consciousness or the AI get corrupted and starts doing bad things. So when all the Prillians realize what happens, they try to like do the time wars, so basically going back in time to prevent it from ever happening in the first place. But so far it's unsuccessful up to this point. Like they're constantly being interrupted or something else happens, and like it's back and forth to like continuous fight.
And then they have targeted specifically because now that you're here, we certainly don't want you having children and pass on your knowledge and abilities. So now they've gone in and started attacking your reproductive system and monitoring you in that way, stuff like that. So, and I'm totally familiar with the time travel and the time wars and stuff. I've been involved in that myself, so that I can really relate to that part of the creepiness of it all.